Yeah, 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 yeah. You're now tuned into the one and only place where you can get what's needed on your plate along with what's going on in your hood. Candy Lady's gonna keep you up to date with events going on around your way. What's really good? SC by Black locally. Keep them dollars circulating in your own community. It's the SCBBL show. You're now tuned into the SCBBL show. Rock, rock, rock on. Rock on.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the SCBBL show. Today, we are very honored to be the host of the Black Health Panel that is brought to you by the Palmetto Community Care Organization as sponsors of the 6th Annual African Consciousness Coalition Festival. And we want to say thank you very much to Maggie Heat for putting this and organizing this panel for our community. We appreciate you greatly. Today we have 2 guests out of 3 that was supposed to be here. We have Ms. Vivian Gathers and we have Mr. Jarmel Smith. Laura Bailey Thomas, you saw her on the flyer, but unfortunately she has some family circumstances that is not allowing her to attend, but we want to say thank you to her for even being willing to be a part of the panel. So with that being said, welcome, Ms. Vivian and Jarmel. How are y'all tonight?
Good, thank you.
Doing well.
All right, so Jarmel, I know you're going to say ladies first. So we're going to have Ms. Vivian introduce herself and her organization.
Hi, my name is Vivian Gathers, and I am the president of the Tri-County Black Nurses Association. Our association encompasses nurses from Charleston, Dorchester, and Berkeley County, and it's open to all student nurses, LPNs, RNs, and advanced practice nurses. I even have some doctor nurses that are in the organization. Our purpose is to educate the public about the disparities in our health, and especially our African American population. We don't discriminate.
Right.
If we are asked to come to another event or to educate a race of another Caucasian race or Indian, Mexican, we're there because the help is needed. So wherever information is needed, if I have a nurse that has a specialty in that background, we're there. And we perform screenings.
Nice. Very awesome. And Ms. Vivian, tell people how long you've been a part of that organization.
I've been a part of the Tri-County Black Nurses for greater than 20 years. I've been a nurse for 35 years.
Wow. We really appreciate your services. Where would we be without nurses?
Well, we are on the front line, and there are a lot of healthcare workers, different entities that we all come together. It's a one for all and all for one. So we appreciate each other.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your services. All right, over to Jarmel. Tell us a little bit. First of all, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right or pronounce it for us. And then tell us a little bit more about yourself and the organization you're part of.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, you did pronounce it correct. It's Jarmel, but even my mother calls me Jamel. So everyone calls me Jamel, and it's fine. But I'm with Palmetto Community Care. I'm the prevention program manager. I have been there for 3 years now. When I first started, I was a part of this program called 3MV, and it's called Many Men, Many Voices. And that was for African American, gay, and bisexual men. And it's like an intervention to try to beat the stigma of HIV and, build community amongst African American, gay, and bisexual men, like I was saying. My organization itself, we offer HIV case management, we offer HIV prevention, we have a food bank that we give out to clients. We also offer PrEP, which is a pre-exposure prophylaxis medicine to help stop the exposure of HIV.
Wow. And see, I always like to ask people when they are part of different organizations, what, inspired you to do it. But you already told us, Jarmel, what inspired you to be a part of the Palmetto Community Care. And Ms. Vivian, going into nursing, like what kind of inspired you to choose that as your profession?
It was just a love of serving. And I tell all my younger nurses that I've mentored, if you're here just for a paycheck, baby, you're in the wrong area.
Right.
It's a calling. I mean, it's a mission. And I just achieved so much satisfaction in doing what I do.
Awesome. So some of the things, and from both of you, you can answer this question each, is just like, what are some of the number one health concerns that you consistently hear about that affects the Black community?
Oh, for years, the Tri-County Black nurses, we did a session annually, and it was called Bubbling Brown Sugar. Can you guess what the theme behind that was?
Diabetes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We did it annually. We did a workshop annually, and the community came in numbers huge. And the thing about it, we never repeated a theme. It was all about diabetes, but it was different themes leading up to the diabetic incident.
Wow.
Now, for the past 2 years, we've just transitioned from Bubbling Brown Sugar to Matters of the Mind, which is our mental health summit. Because
good.
Yeah, today there's a lot of breakdown. So we've gone to the mental health summit. So that's where we're headed now. But diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, we try to address all those issues because they affect us in great numbers.
Wow.
Just to tag on a little bit about what Ms. Vivian said, I think in the past I've always heard things that affect the African American community the most is HIV and blood pressure. But like she was saying, mental health, especially during this time, you know, there's so much trauma that we're all going through as African Americans living in this country. You know,
So much, yeah. And we want people to say, or not to say, oh, look at her, she's fine, she's not going through anything. You never can tell a book by its cover.
Never.
That person out there that's walking the street talking to themselves, or that homeless person you see, that's not the most critical person that has a mental health issue. Could be me, could be you, the man that goes to the office every day in the 3-piece suit, you know, a sports figure. Everybody has something.
Yes.
Some more than others. And so we try to erase the stigma of people thinking, he's a preacher. Oh, she go to church. They got it going on. They don't have an issue. No, mental health is mental health. Trust me.
Yes.
Everybody needs somebody.
I joke about it all the time, but I'm like, Black people in general got mental health issues. Like we got so much stuff that we juggle, and a lot of us don't want to admit to it. But it is really okay. Like some of the things that we deal with in our families alone is just like, that's a health issue.
Yeah, and our kids are now being affected greatly with mental health issues. You know, they can't socialize like they used to.
Yeah.
They can't get out. They can't see their friends. So, you know, social media, there's bullying and there's so much going on. So our kids are being affected in great numbers. So that's why we try to address the mental health issue.
Yeah. And that's great. Like, I'm glad you said mental health, because that weighs in a lot with how we eat and how we deal with things. And I just happened to be watching Ayanla last night, and she had, you know, she was talking about, it's not like your body weight that's the main problem. It's the heavy weight that is mentally draining you and causing you to revert to food or whatever it is that causes us to put on the pounds and things of that nature. So, and I often look at other communities, like all other communities and their body figures. And I'm like, how is it that they are able to maintain the slim bellies and waists and stuff, and we struggle? Like, Ms. Vivian, help us out as the nurse. Like, what's causing these love handles and the little pudgy bellies and stuff that we have to fight to keep on?
You know, because we try to compensate, we try to comfort ourselves. So what do? Grab that Twinkie, grab that donut, Dunkin' Donuts. I must have 10 donut certificates in my bag because everybody sells them. So, to help the
Especially
kids
our
out, I
churches.
decide,
Yes.
yeah. So it's comfort food. Then sedimentary lifestyle. Now everybody's working from home, so you're sitting in front of the computer all day, 8 hours a day.
Mhm.
You gotta get out. You gotta even if you don't have a gym membership, walking never hurt nobody. It's
Right.
free.
Right.
Okay, it's free. But I want to tell you about that waist size, 35 inches on a woman, we in trouble.
Mm.
40 inches on a man, they're in trouble.
Let me
All
write
right,
that. 35 and 40.
35 for female. Your
Jermel.
waist, your waist circumference measures greater than 35. You go, oh no, we got to fix this.
Wow. Women 35 and men 40.
Okay.
Well, Ms. Vivian, you'll be happy to know this morning I decided to get up and do something different. I didn't lay around in the bed. I didn't go to McDonald's. I didn't fix me a French toast. I got on my bike and I rode for 45 minutes.
And
Wow.
that's it.
We
You
have
just gotta
our
do it.
we have
You
our
just
annual festival coming up. So me and the girls and my spouse, we went out into different neighborhoods passing out flyers, and so that was a really good exercise. And the kids ended up, at first they didn't want to do it, but they ended up enjoying
see.
doing something different.
And
Yeah.
even though we're in this pandemic season and we're being socially distanced,
Hmm.
put on a mask and go for a walk. I mean, it's beautiful. The weather is just the perfect
Yeah.
season for it. We can be socially distanced. If you see a crowd coming, you know how to
Yeah.
space yourself out, even if you got to cross the street. But everybody's aware of being distant, and that's a good thing.
Right.
But a brisk walk, 30 minutes daily exercise, best thing you can do for yourself.
So what about some myths, like some of the craziest things that you've probably heard that's been passed down, of like, if you do this, it will cause this? Or just like, I'm gonna give an example for Jamel, just like being a gay male, people automatically thought you had HIV, So
Yes, that is so true. That is so true.
so dispel some of those myths around that you've had to share with people, from your perspective.
Well, speaking for myself, like you said, that one was most definitely the top myth out of all of them. And when I started working with my agency, that just put the nail in the coffin for so many people. They're like, "Yes, this is it. We confirmed it. He has to have it." And
Right.
it's the total opposite. I am an HIV negative gay male, but I just love what I do. I love helping my community. My job is to try to help others not become HIV positive. My whole job is to end the epidemic. So I think that is the most myth that I get more than anything. Most people ask me when they come in, like, "Are you positive?" I'm like, "No, I'm not positive, but I can, empathize with others who are, and I can lead them in the right direction." Another myth I think I hear all the time is that if you take the correct amount of vitamins, you can get rid of HIV or STDs. And I'm like, no, there's no regimen of vitamins or whatever you want to take that's
Right.
going to get rid of this out your system.
And I think shout out to my family, the Owens family, who does the AGB Health Expo, because I was on their Health Expo for a little bit, and I heard about like some of the medication and stuff that's available to people who are curious about, is there anything out there to help me? Would you mind sharing about some of those options, like medicines or treatment or things of that nature?
Yeah, most definitely. So the main medicine I tell everybody about, because it's part of my program and what I do, is PrEP. We have two medications, it's Truvada and Descovy. And what they do is, like I stated earlier, is that they help stop you from being exposed to HIV, from contracting HIV, not being exposed. You could be exposed, but you won't contract it if you take it daily with these medications. So we have those two for people who are HIV positive. It's a range of different medications that they can take. And with them taking it on a regular basis, they become what they call virally suppressed, which is undetectable. And we tell a lot of people undetectable means untransmittable. So which means if I have HIV and I was to sleep with my partner, the chances of him getting it is slim to none because I'm undetectable.
Nice. And see, that's a lot of things that panels like these are important, because many people don't have access to this type of information because they're ashamed to ask questions.
Right.
Who can I really trust to talk to about, these topics, So I think that these types of panels are important for that reason.
Just to add on to that, Candace, I think that along with that conversation just to have about your health, sex in the Black community is just taboo, period. Like we do not talk about sex at all. It's like it doesn't happen. Yeah. And I think that is part of what has, blamed the HIV in the Black community, that we just don't talk about stuff like that.
Right. And so I'm glad you said that. So before I move on to Ms. Vivian, what, like for the heterosexuals, prevention, what are some of your top things that you deal with that was just like, oh, I didn't know that, or, any of those things that when it comes to heterosexual relationships?
And HIV works the same way for hetero and homosexual relationships. Yep. Let's put that out there. But a lot of heterosexual people don't think you can get STDs, STIs from oral sex, and that is the total opposite. You can. So when we ask people like, what type of sex are you having? A lot of people get offended. They're like, what you mean? And I'm like, help me help you, So yes, I think that is the main thing. They're like, oh, I receive oral from such person, but I can't get it that way. And I'm like, yes, I may not be able to get HIV, but you sure could get an STI.
Right.
Yes, you can. And as a nurse and my prior occupation, I just retired from an OB/GYN nurse. And so we get a lot of teenagers or young adults coming through our exam room and positive, STI, and they go, I didn't have sex. I'm thinking like, okay.
That is it, Ms. Vivian. We get it all the time too. I didn't have sex, and they won't be allowed to their parents when they come in. And I'm like, babe, I'm sorry, my hands are tied. Like, these are the results, but I didn't have sex. We had oral sex. That's considered sex.
Right. That is considered sex. They come in all the time. I never did this. I never did that. I'm thinking like, you may not have had intercourse.
Right.
Oral, anal, it's sex.
Yeah.
So, or they come in and they have this ferocious smell, and I go, okay. I go, what do you think causes this?
Right.
So there's a lot of, I have to, hide my chuckle. There's a lot of education or miseducation going on. And my girlfriend said, let me educate you so you can educate your girlfriend.
Right.
I've even heard them come in. One young lady came in and said that, well, she did the Sprite douche. I'm thinking like, okay, what is that?
Right.
She looked at me like, you stupid, you don't know you're the nurse. Somewhere, somehow, somebody told some lie that after intercourse, you shake a bottle of Sprite and you put it up and it kills sperm, STIs, anything. I mean, it just washes it away. I'm thinking,
that scares me with the sugar and Sprite and everything like that.
Wow. That's a new one for me. I had not heard that one, but now I have to look out for it.
Yeah. So, I tell them, it didn't work for you, did it? So you're here because that did not work. So what can we do? Do some math? It's false, it didn't work. It's a lie. So you go back and tell all your little cheerleader friends and your teammates.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. That's not real.
Man, this is hilarious. Some of the taboo things that we don't want to touch on, and it causes the youth to just try anything because out of fear of what will happen if I just have this conversation, let alone what will happen if I don't have this conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
So.
Oh my goodness. Oh man.
Important. And one of the things that we're focusing on now is we used to do a lot of screenings for high blood pressure, but we tell a lot of our clients now that if you just want a number, go to Publix, go to Walmart, stick your arm in the machine and get your number. But if you want your number and you want to know what it means, the Tri-County Black Nurses at Health Fair will greatly answer your question, because they don't understand. Well, what's my blood pressure? My blood pressure is fine. My blood pressure is 150 over something. That's not fine.
Right.
That's not fine. I asked them, do you understand what it means when you get your blood pressure? Like that top number over that bottom number. They go, I don't know. Well, the doctor say the top number is the best number and the bottom number. Well, let me help you. Your blood pressure. I'm a blood pressure 101.
Mm-hmm.
Your blood pressure is read in two numbers: the systolic over the diastolic. And I tell them, you sin before you die. So that's the top and the bottom. Okay. That top number, your blood pressure itself, is the force of the blood being pushed through your arteries. Okay. The top number is when your heart contracts. That's that top number. That's that top number we get. Your bottom number, your diastolic, is the force of the blood when it's relaxed. Okay. Way back in the day when I was in nursing school, they would always say 120 over 80, classic blood pressure reading, perfect blood pressure reading. Well, now the American Medical Association has changed that. 120 over 80, stage 1.
Wow.
Normal blood pressures are anything under 120 over 80.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's stage 1. If you live in that 120 to 129, with that bottom number 80 to 89, stage 1.
And Ms. Vivian, stage 1 means stage 1 for hypertension?
Stage 1 for hypertension. Yeah, stage 1 for hypertension.
Wow.
I love these type of panels because I'm informed as well,
Yeah. Yeah. And stage two, people used to say, oh, your blood pressure is only 130 over 90. You're good, but you got to watch it. Well, that's stage 2.
Wow. Well.
And so, just a quick question. Like I said, I'm learning, and I love this as education for myself as well. Is it our food? Is it the way we prepare our food? Is it like the mental capacity behind it?
All of it.
I always thought so too.
Candace, you hit it right on the head. They say, now people ask, what causes high blood pressure? We really don't know. We know some factors that contribute to it, but the actual cause, like people say, well, my grandmama, my mama, my sister, my auntie, so I know I'm gonna have it. Well, when you know better, you do better. You may have a predisposition, but if you know what to do to prevent it, exercise, diet control, lifestyle changes, eliminate stress, eliminate stress as much as possible. Some things we have to work through, but we don't have to take on the weight of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there are some causative agents, but remember, blood pressure is called the silent killer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may have it and have no headaches, no blurred vision, no palpitations, no sweating, no pain in the neck. So, but when it gets to that point, it's called malignant hypertension, because those are, real serious signals. So some people have high blood pressure and they go, my blood pressure runs 130 over 90 all the time. Well, remember now, 130 over 90, stage 2.
Wow.
So you got to be very careful. You got to eliminate some of that causative factors in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely helps. And you don't want to get to that malignant stage, that 140 over 120, medical emergency.
Yes.
Yeah. We had one lady that came to our health fair and I mean, she had the worst scowl on her face. And we're like, are you okay? She goes, I always have these explicative headaches. And I just, so we thought, okay, well, let's sit down. Let's take the pressure and we'll see what that is. One of those ones that had us going like, okay, sit here for a little while. We want to repeat that one. 20 minutes later, nothing. 30 minutes later, still in the same range. EMS, can you come
Wow.
into the rope? But she was in the stroke range.
Wow.
She was a near stroke patient. All the time she was starting, you know what she was doing? Eating those goody headache powders all the time. She thought
Oh
that would
my
be her
goodness.
headache. Her pressures were high. She had never been told that she had hypertension. She was malignant hypertension. She said
Oh my
nobody never told her. She didn't know. So it's very important that we combat that, or we make people aware that it is a silent killer. Sometimes just getting a check on a periodic basis. Also, prevention is worth a pound of cure. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're getting those numbers, it's time to do something. Okay.
Yep.
Just an alternate lifestyle may be just what you want, just what you need. If the alternate lifestyle doesn't change anything, then a little medication. Okay. And a different meds. And I won't even go to the medications because there's so many different regimens. What work for one might not work for others. Half a pill may work for somebody. So your doctor would be the best one to decide what works for you. But
Definitely.
yeah, but the first line is change your lifestyle a little bit, you know.
So anybody who's out there watching this video, please make sure that you guys are sharing this because it is so important. For knowledge is power. Health is wealth. You cannot live to see your riches if you're not here.
Yeah. Look at this artery, nice and clear. This one's a little clogged. This one's plenty clogged. This one has a big clot to it. So please change your lifestyle, change your diet, eat more fruits and vegetables.
Miss Vivian, is there there's no doctor that will tell you what your arteries look like until it's too late, right?
Absolutely. at your autopsy, they will say, "Ooh,
I think we found the issue."
Right.
Right. Ooh, that's the cause." Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even make it out of the stroke. So that's, some people are lucky enough to do that, but some are not blessed enough to do that, and some are not. So
just this past month, two of my acquaintances stroke. I'm thinking, oh, God bless America. Yeah. So I mean, this thing is real.
Yeah. So what about talking of like the effects? What are some of the nutritional things people can do to help themselves not get that far to hypertension, diabetes? What are some of the nutritional things people can do?
Always go back to nature. Fresh fruits, fresh vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Even one of the vitamins that we take is elderberry, So
yes.
read your labels. Look at even on the canned goods, look at your salt content. If it contains more than 50% sodium, put it back. Like something is just packed with sodium. So go back to reading labels. Just don't take it because they're 3 for $1. Probably loaded with sodium.
Yeah. I feel like you're stepping on my feet, Miss Vivian.
Yep.
I was like, only got 3 for $1. I call my mama. Mama, guess what Balo got?
Yeah. And you turn that can around and read that label and go, oh, no wonder they can probably give these away free because they're so packed with sodium. I mean, it's
definitely
we got to be aware of. We got to teach our folks to read the labels. That sodium content is too much. Yeah.
That's one of the things I have started doing instead of reverting back to my canned goods. I go to the frozen food section now and get my like peas and beans out of the frozen foods area. So it's less preservatives in that can,
Yes.
So
yeah, I'm the same way, and I actually started a garden, and I have actually been using the stuff out of my garden. It tastes better than anything, honestly.
Hey, that's perfect. Yes.
That's what we have to get back to, learning how to garden. And every year, I remember my grandparents, when you was talking, like on Sundays, my grandma would have us shucking her peas for the next Sunday. So things like that we have to get back to. And if you don't have time for it,
get back to nature. Yes.
Yeah.
Nuts and berries and garden growth, just go back to it. Yeah. Nature.
One thing I think is very important, Ms. Vivian, and I don't know if you guys have already done this, when it comes down to locating more mental health practitioners in the Black community, because relatability is powerful. A lot of times, you can send your children to other, resources of other races, but when they can't really relate to that person, or the person can't relate to them, it becomes like the child feels, or even adults feel like it might be ineffective. So I think that it's very important for us to have that database of mental health practitioners.
That looks like us.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that you brought that up, Candace. One of my friends, her daughter sees a therapist, and her daughter said her therapist was of the other race, and my friend is, of course, my race, and she was like, her daughter told her, she was like, I don't think I want to go to her anymore. And mind, she's like 11 or 12. She said, because she doesn't look like me. She doesn't understand me. And I was like, she asked during her session, she asked her therapist, well, how come my race is being murdered, but not your race is being murdered? And that changed everything. So now she has a new therapist. Yeah.
Out of the mouth of a babe, right. See?
It's real. And our children they're not afraid to say how they feel.
No.
Not this next generation, aren't they?
Not afraid at all. So you got to be ready for those conversations. And honestly, how can somebody answer that if they never experienced it?
Right. And now that you said that also, Candace, we laughed and joked about this early before the session started that, in our household, we always say, I know in my household, I grew up in a rural area of Orangeburg, that kids are to be seen, not heard, and I think that is so hurtful to, kids and the generations that, a child may be going through something, a child maybe want to talk about something and they can't tell you. So it's end up this hurting not only the child, but as the parents and the whole family, and it goes on and on and on.
Definitely. So
I think there may have been a generation of parents that don't ask, don't tell. Like, I don't want to know. They didn't have an answer for it, so they ignored it. Like, like I'm turning the other way. I don't want to know. And the child's hurting, and something's going on. So parents got to step up and step out. Look at the signs, and if the child needs to talk, pave the way, make an avenue.
Yeah, one of my good friends, Simply L, she's a coach, and she says, addressing the elephants in the room. Yes. A lot of times we try to bring something up, but then we brush it under the rug like, oh, that never happened, and we move on with life, But all the while, that person who tried to bring that up, they're trying to deal with whatever it is, and you just totally acted like you heard them, but you didn't hear them, or you heard them, but nothing came from it. It just ended right there for you and trying to have that conversation. So we really got to do better in that area. So if you guys have a list that you would like to share, feel free to let me know that, because that's what South Carolina Buy Black Locally is all about, like bridging the gap of where are these people? How can we use their services? Are they looking for clients? Are they taking patients? Things of that nature.
I know for us, with Palmetto Community Care, before COVID, we had Maggie was actually over it. She was our outreach coordinator, and what she did was she took the van to various rural areas. For me, I'm very passionate about rural areas. Like I said, I grew up in Orangeburg, and I tell everybody Orangeburg, but I'm really from a little town called Nices, and no one never knows where I'm at. But for us in the rural areas, like, access to care is almost like never, and it leads to stuff like Ms. Vivian said earlier that if you flush a bottle of Sprite up, then you're gonna be cured. No, if you're having an issue, you should be able to talk to your parents or talk to whoever, talk to a medical person to be able to get you some help. And I think that's why having that van, it was a success. I think last year we tested like, if not 400 to 500, I think close to 800 people on the van alone. Just out in your regular community. So yeah, it's huge.
Yes, that's a very good thing that you guys are able to now bring that to people who can't afford to come to you, or they might be able to come across you in a open area where it's not, they have to go ask somebody to take them to get that thing done, where it's just like a real daunting process. So that's really good. So kudos to you guys for that.
To talk about that also, I tell this story to a lot of people that, communication is so important. When I very first started my very first year at Palmetto Community Care, it was a young guy. He just turned 16. He walked to our agency from school, literally walked. And I think it was like a 20-minute, 30-minute walk. He walked and he tested positive. His first ever HIV test, he tested positive. And he just felt something wasn't right. He couldn't talk to his family about it. But he was a gay guy, so he just knew that, most of us in the African American community who are gay, that's the first thing that usually comes to our head, because that myth. If I'm not feeling right, it has to be HIV, And he was positive. So I just really wish that someone was there to educate him about HIV and STDs.
Yeah.
He was able to have that conversation with his family if he could have, or a close friend or the family or somebody before it got to that point. But yeah, communication is so important.
And Jarmel, I'm glad you pivoted onto that, because my next question for you was going to be, when it comes, you and Miss Vivian, when it comes down to like the schools, what are your relationships with like local schools? Because I'm always curious. It seems like back in the day, it seems like other organizations had a lot more say-so and involvement with schools, versus nowadays it seems like the school is the school, and it's kind of hard to really like get in there. So I was wondering if you guys have any relationships with like public schools, trying to get some of this information to them early on.
It's been a couple of years. Let's see. I'm trying to think exactly how long ago. It's been over 6 or 7 years. We had a relationship with Burke High School. We had a program called It's Up to Me, where we would go into the school, into the PE, the physical health teachers class, and we would discuss sensitive issues at a point. But it would be, we talked about STDs, STIs, how to communicate guy to guy, male and female, and but we had the blessing of the school system.
Right.
Things dramatically changed. You almost have to, it's an act of Congress to get in there to discuss,
Literally.
Yeah.
But during our 5-year reign, the pregnancy rate dropped down significantly. We had the figures to prove. So we did what we could when we were allowed.
Right.
Programs, we had a grant. That program has been gone now. So, and It came to the Coastal Community Foundation, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because the kids, I thought they related to us because we were a younger set, and we heard some things that would probably singe your ear, but we had to dispel the myths and set them straight. And it was a great program. Now, other than, talking to kids one-on-one, before COVID, you had team sessions at the church, school systems.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Totally different.
To piggyback off what Ms. Vivian said, it has to be an act of Congress for us to get into the schools. Back in my day, we did have sexual health class, sex ed is what I think we used to call it back in the day. And I don't even think they have sex ed anymore. And even back then, the main thing was pregnancy and condom use. Like, I think the conversation about STI and HIV was slim to none. Our agency, we have spoke with different groups, younger groups, but we have to be invited. Like going into the school though, it's like almost never happens. I think Maggie has spoke to one group in the school because somebody invited us there to talk to their organization. But I think that may have been like one or two times. But other than that, it's no. And I think this has a lot to do with us being along this Bible Belt, especially for
Yes.
up north they don't have these kind of issues. HIV in up north is like, I won't say it's under control, but it's so much better managed than it is down here in the south.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, you can't close your eyes and say it's not happening and believe that it's not happening. Like, it's happening. So
very much so.
We might as well deal with it. Things are going down that we might as well just go ahead and deal with instead of trying to close our eyes like it's not happening.
I just sent a friend of mine. She's a counselor, and they have this connection, ThriveWorks Counseling Services. And she'd asked me to do a Google review, and it just so happened I was just scrolling through it as we were talking, and they got some excellent reviews and they got some excellent insights. So when you guys get a minute, just pull up ThriveWorks Counseling and look at what they're offering in our area.
Nice. Yeah. Maggie also said that you guys for Palmetto work with orgs that focus on youth and teens, like We Are Family.
Yes.
Empower program, reducing risky teen behavior, and others that have access to provide education. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And I hope, hopefully going forward with the people that we elect to be on our school boards and others, or public, other health or educational organizations will allow access to the children for information, because oftentimes these kids find out too late, after they become a mom or after they have an STD, because the parents don't want to believe that their child is having sex. It's just like, we have to get over that. It's happening. And as long as you don't want to know about it, you put your child, in very risky situations.
Yes.
Right. And like you said, with the risky situations, South Carolina is number 11th in the nation with HIV, And wow. HIV, I wanted to, it's a risky thing altogether. It affects your health, but it's not a death sentence anymore, So that doesn't mean that you think of it and like, okay, I'm going to be fine. No one wants it. It changes your life, it changes your health. But it's still, something that we could change slowly but surely and reduce the risk,
And when you look at the whole United States map, little South Carolina being number 11.
Number 11.
Number 11, yeah.
Wow.
Education is power. We can't stick our head in the sands and go, not my child.
Exactly. So is from the both of you, is there anything that you can think of that I did not ask you that you feel is important for our communities to be aware of?
I think I just said my part as far as HIV. It is not a death sentence anymore. I think that's so important that I keep putting that out.
Very important, yeah.
Yeah, back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was always thought that if you had HIV, you was going to die, They have medication now that can help you from even stop you from contracting HIV. And it's not for just gay or bisexual people in the LGBT community. A lot of people, when I talk about PrEP, they're like, oh, that's just for gay people. No, it's for everybody,
right.
Who's having sex and they're having unprotected sex. I think that condom use is huge. I know people be like, oh, I don't want to do it. It doesn't fit right. They have numerous different types of condoms. In the case that you don't want to wear condoms, try PrEP. That's, like I said, that's the second option. Mm-hmm. I like to also bring up undetectable means untransmittable. It's the stigma behind HIV is huge. So if someone tells you that they're HIV positive, listen to the rest of what they have to say. They may be like undetectable, And with them
they're undetectable, which is awesome.
Yes. And with them being undetectable, there is no, the chance of you being able to contract HIV is slim to none. And to backtrack to the myth, Candace, you cannot catch HIV through drinking out a cup, from somebody sweating, from somebody hugging you. You will not catch HIV. Right, in none of those ways, okay? HIV is transmitted through sexual transmission, sharing needles, which is blood. And I don't mean if you touch somebody's blood with your fingertips. No, you have to like share needle. It has to be injected. And through breast milk through a mother. And usually they catch that way before it can even happen, you know?
Right.
Yes, because we've delivered plenty moms. The viral load was so low. But, you know, it's not a death sentence anymore.
Right. And to add on to what Ms. Vivian said, and just to finish her sentence, said that the viral load was so low, which means that person, the mother, was undetectable. When the baby was born, the baby wasn't HIV positive.
I was going to ask that.
There you go. The baby was not HIV positive. Right.
That's a blessing. Yeah. I was going to ask that next. So that's definitely, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Definitely a blessing on that one. And Ms. Vivian, for you?
I think Jamel just summed it up well. And you know, my spiel is on blood pressure. Like, we know better, so we got to do better. Okay. We cannot continue to eat those fatty foods and those greasy hamburgers. And, you know, moderation is the key. Okay. Yeah. I'm not telling you to never eat another piece of chicken. Okay. Moderation is the key. Alter your lifestyle. Get out there and walk. You know, drink a lot of fresh water. A lot of, you know, eat some fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So moderation is the key.
Yeah. One thing I learned for sure is that we definitely eat for taste.
Yes.
And breaking that is just like, oh my God. I remember when I first went to California and I had their the sugar in the raw for the first time. And it seemed like I could never get my coffee right. But now I've adjusted, like, so my taste buds have adjusted, and that's all we use in our house is, you know, sugar in the raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, so both of you, Ms. Vivian and Candace, like it is the way we cook. It's what we add seasoning to taste everything. I went to Thailand for a week, and when we ate, of course, we ate, you know, whatever the Thailand had. We ate off the streets, you know, we ate to their restaurants. When we got back to America, I was like, "Ooh, you know, we was hungry. We got off the plane, and the first thing we saw was open was a Popeyes." I'm like, "Yes, God, give me a piece of this chicken. I am ready. I am so ready. I haven't had fried chicken in a whole week."
Yeah.
We and two of my friends, it was three of us all together. We bit into the chicken, and it was so salty, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. So we literally like did not eat it, right? So we didn't eat the food. We got a salad. We were fine. The next morning, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get this Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna be up in there again. I am so excited." Bit into the Chick-fil-A, and it was salty, and I was like, "What is going on?" And I talked to my doctor because I thought it was like, man, I was like, my blood pressure going up. Like, what is going up? And he was like, over there, they don't use seasonings like we do over here. And I was like, oh. It took me like a good 2 weeks to start eating stuff, and it wasn't salty to me.
Yeah, yeah. My sister said when you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you get used to eating just to be full, like you know, all kinds of vegetables and stuff. One thing that I struggle with though is when I buy a lot of vegetables, I tend to not eat them. It's when I go to the store and buy vegetables when I want to eat them that I do good. But if I buy too much, it's like it stays in the fridge.
They go bad.
Yeah.
And you know what? Another good thing to do is take that salt and pepper shaker off the table because you've already cooked. You may have seasoned it just how you want it. You know, the first thing we reach for the salt. Take it away. Take it away.
Yes, that's a good one. Some of us have bad habits with that.
Yeah. So it's a low moderation. We all guilty of. We all got to do it. But when you know better, you do better. So we're learning. We're learning. We're not going to criticize somebody. Go, girl, you know what you're doing. Just say, hey, you know, you'll be a little bit healthier if you cut back a little bit. And just try it. You know, just try it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you two, I greatly appreciate both of you. This panel has been a lot of fun and very educational.
And I learned a lot. Thank you, guys.
I did too. Thank you so much for having us, Candace. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thanks once again to Maggie for putting it all together on behalf of Primary Community Care. And you guys remember that on this Saturday at 2:00 in Moncks Corner, it's the 6th Annual African Consciousness Coalition Festival. Be there. The website to register is AKKFES And we would love to see all of you on the grounds. Come check out our amazing business community vendors, live entertainment, some local artists. You know, we need to support our local artists in the community. We'll have Queen Cat. We'll have Pastor Anthony Arnold. We'll have Queen Cat DJing as well, and possibly some pop-up live musicians. So you guys come out, and even if you just stay for a little while, come out and check all that's going to be happening on the grounds on this Saturday at 2 p.m. So not a problem. So it's been awesome. Follow Miss Vivian and look up Tri-County Black Nurses Association and Jarmel Smith with Palmetto Community Care. And of course, you're watching the SCBBL show of South Carolina by Black Locally. And we will see you guys next time.
Good night.
Good night.
SCBBL show.
Rock on.
Rock on.